Come on, ye jolly young tugboat men, now to listen unto me, while I tell you a story of hardships and glory, of a lusty old life on the deep briny sea. There once was a stalwart old tugboat, her name was the O.D.G. And I'll let you know, boys, that full of the tow, boys, there was no huskier tugboat than she. She came off the ways in '89, for storms she cared not a damn. It was boasted around 'twas the talk of the town that she knew that old coastline as well as a man. Now her mate was an expert at running the logs. He ne'er seemed to come to no harm, but he ran out of luck when he fell in the chuck with a rusty old boom chain wrapped around his left arm. Oh, her engineer was a lazy young tramp. All day he did nothing but read. On the Pantail he sat on his young lazy trap till the big roaring wave swept him into the seaweed. And her deckhand was painting the bulwarks so fine, painting so carefully, but he made his patron to admire his painting. He took a step back and fell into the sea. Now her skipper, he was a very fine man, that seafaring he was a pip, but without a crew he didn't know what to do, so he grabbed a full knife belt and abandoned the ship. But the old O.D.G, she kept tugging along. She towed those logs down to Long Bay, and no penny hooray for the money he saved, and he sent her back north on the very next day. Was a cold winter's night, not a star was in sight, and the north wind came howling down the line. And the brave engineer told his sweetheart so dear he'd had orders to take out number 9. Oh, he kissed her goodbye with a tear in his eye, for the joy in his heart he could not hide. His whole world seemed bright as she told him that night that tomorrow she'd be his loving bride. Oh, the wheels hummed a song as the train rolled along, and the black smoke came pouring from the stack, and the headlight a gleam seemed to brighten his dream of tomorrow when he'd be coming back. But his brave heart stood still as he rounded a hill, for a headlight was shining in his face. He whispered a prayer as he threw on the air, for he knew it would be his final race. The wreck he was found lying there on the ground, and he asked them to raise his weary head. As his breath slowly went, this message he sent to the girl that tomorrow he would wed. There's a little white home that I bought for our own, and I'll never need it in the by and by. So I'll leave it to you, for I know you'll be true till we meet at the Golden Gates goodbye. If you listen to my story, I'll tell you of a girl that once lived in this land, of a girl who once was my sweetheart and was known as the Blue Velvet Band. Her cheeks were the first flush of nature, her beauty it seemed to expand. Her hair hung down in long tresses, tied back by the blue velvet band. I can still see the tears as we parted of my heartbroken blue velvet band. When I left her, I told her I'd never come back to the old home again. But 5 years in the wide open spaces was more than my poor heart could stand. Every night as I lay on my pillow, I dreamed of my blue velvet band. One night as I lay by the campfire, with the stars shining down so grand, like a flash there stood in the firelight the form of my blue velvet band. That very next morning I started to go home and make her my bride. When I reached the old country depot, they told me my sweetheart had died. They buried her there in the churchyard, neath the sweet-smelling flowers of the land. On her finger was the ring that I gave her, in her hair was the blue velvet band. There's a twisting trail a-winding to my trap line in the mountains, where the silky-pelted martin loved to play. There's a bitter north wind blowing, but I'm packed up and I'm going to those lonely mountain valleys far away. I hear the red gods calling from where the creeks are brawling, and their voices stir me to the very core. And I cannot cross the long and folded little old log cabin where the virgin forest grows beside my door. When the bear comes out of hiding down the trail, I'll come a-striding till I reach the icy waters of the lake. You'll know that I'm a-comin' when you hear my outboard hummin' as it leaves a trail of bubbles in its wake. So I'll see you in the springtime when the ice goes down the river and the noisy geese are winging o'er the bay. To those secret trysting places in those wide and open spaces up the muddy Duncan River far away. There's a place in Vancouver the loggers know well. It's a place where they keep rot-gut whiskey to sell. They also keep boarders and keep them like hell, and the name of that place is the Grand Hotel. Oh, the Grand Hotel when the loggers come in, it's amusing to see the proprietor grin, for he knows they've got cash and he'll soon have it all. So come on boys, have a drink, you will hear Tommy call. In the morning Tom Roberts comes up to the door, and there he sees loggers all over the floor. He shouts as he hauls them up onto their feet, drink up you bums or get out on the street. We're going back to work and we're still pretty high, with a bottle of rum and a Mickey of rye, a dozen of beer and a 2-gallon jar, and passes for camp on the old Cassiar. I always ride up on the roof on the Kettle Valley line. I always ride up on the roof on the Kettle Valley line. I always ride up on the roof. I could pay the fare, but what's the use? So I always ride up on the roof on the Kettle Valley line. I order my meals through the ventilator on the Kettle Valley line. I order my meals through the ventilator on the Kettle Valley line. I order my meals through the ventilator, they taste no worse than safe tipping the waiter, so I order my meals through the ventilator on the Kettle Valley line. I buy a sandwich from the cook on the Kettle Valley line. I buy a sandwich from the cook on the Kettle Valley line. I buy a sandwich from the cook and he pockets my money, that dirty crook, when I buy a sandwich from the cook on the Kettle Valley line. The railway bulls are gentlemen on the Kettle Valley line. The railway bulls are gentlemen on the Kettle Valley line. The railway bulls are gentlemen, we'll never see their likes again. Oh, the railway bulls are gentlemen on the Kettle Valley line. They tip their hats and call you sir on the Kettle Valley line. They tip their hats and call you sir on the Kettle Valley line. They tip their hats and call you sir, then chuck you in a local stir, but they tip their hats and call you sir on the Kettle Valley line. On the Kettle Valley line. On the Kettle Valley line. Oh, Tony went walking one fine summer's day, some cherry-cheeked apples he found on his way, found on his way, found on his way, some cherry-cheeked apples he found on his way. Now Tony was soon away up in that tree, those apples together so pleasant to see, pleasant to see, pleasant to see, those apples together so pleasant to see. But the branch it did break and poor Tony did fall, and down came Tony and apples and all, apples and all, apples and all, down came Tony and apples and all. If you listen, folks, I'll tell a funny story. You may think it's sad, but I was in my glory. 'Twas a cellar I crept in, cobwebs brushing by my chin. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. As my hand fell on the jug, I had a snicker, but when I started for the door, I went much quicker. For just up above my head, someone jumped right out of bed. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. Now down that dusty road I went a-running, till I realized nobody was a-comin'. So I stopped and pulled the plug, sat there till I drained the jug. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. Now round my head the bees began a-buzzin', and for roads I guess I saw about a dozen. When I reached the old porch door, I went smack-o on the floor. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. Now I just took one step and landed in the coal box, and from off the mantel fell a big Ben alarm clock. But I finally got upstairs after passing 7 bears. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. By my bedroom door an owl stood taking tickets, and a monkey stood before me baking biscuits. But the funniest side of all was 2 roosters playing ball. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. Now I saw mice as big as horses doing dishes, and an ape came in the room dressed up in breeches. But I finally went to bed when the floor fell on my head. On the night I stole old Sandy Morgan's gin. Now I woke next morning, guess 'twas close to the evening, and the room was certainly in a terrible shake. Someone else had stole my head, left an elephant there instead. On the morning after drinking Sandy's gin. Oh, come all ye shipmates, and listen to me, to a story that will make you agree, of a tug that went down off Tottenham Bridge. 'Twas on a Christmas Eve. The C.P. Yorke, she was heading north. She was heading north for Duncan Bay, and though 'twas the mate that stood at her wheel, 'twas the devil that guided her way. She was just about 5 miles up in the stretch when a southeast gale began to blow. They headed for shelter in Buccaneer Bay. That's the only place there was to go. In Welcome Pass, the mate was alert for sight of the marker ahead, but he cut her too short coming out of the pass, and grounded on Tottenham Bridge. The barge dragged the tugboat off into the deep. She sank 20 fathoms down Only the chief and the skipper survived, and the 5 other men were drowned. They salvaged the tug, and she's working yet. She has a new crew, brave and bold, but she'll never forget that cold Christmas Eve, nor the ghosts of the 5 in her hold. Though I'm big or tired and weary as the shadows descend on the plain, moonlight will soon come to cheer me, and I'll sing an I love you refrain. When it's moonlight on the meadow, I'll have romance in my heart. No care will cast a shadow, I'll be in the world apart. There's a winding trail to follow when the daily work is through. When it's moonlight on the meadow, I'll be riding home to you. Brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes. I'll never love blue eyes again. Lily, my darling, I love you with all my heart. We might have been married many years ago, but liquor has kept us apart. Brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes. I'll never love blue eyes again. Down through the barnyard I staggered, fell down by the door. The very last words that he uttered was, I'll never get drunk anymore. Brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes, beautiful, beautiful brown eyes. I'll never love blue eyes again. Oh, I know that you will tell me, as you told the year before, that you'll never be returning to that Duncan lookout moor. But those of us who know you will heed not your reply, for we'll know you'll soon be yearning for that lookout in the sky. In that little lone log cabin on that bare and windy crest, you will dwell again this season like an eagle in his nest. And though the grizzly bears may chase you and your water hole run dry, the rats will stay to cheer you on your lookout in the sky. Besides those troubles mentioned, to add to other ills, the radio will pester you, refires in the hills. And you'll curse those damn patrolmen when you're stalked of grubber and shy, and you're eating straight spaghetti on that lookout in the sky. Those livid streaks of lightning will make the cabin lurch, as though the gods were trying to hurl you from your perch. And you'll have to hang on grimly and fight the urge to fly when the thunder god is talking on that lookout in the sky. And when the season's over and the fire hazard past, once again we'll hear you say that this season is your last. Once again we'll listen to that oft-repeated cry, I'll never be returning to that lookout in the sky. Away in that far north country lived a trapper they thought insane. Two of his redskin neighbors, to the police they made a complaint. Two redcoats of the Mounties, who were noted for their fame, went north to find the trouble, but the trapper was thought to blame. They journeyed up to his cabin, no harm was meant, you know, but the trapper with his 6-gun, he laid him down below. 'Twas then that the trouble started, and as the story goes forth, 'twas the greatest of the manhunts in the history of the North. One time when they had him surrounded, while trailing him through the snow, he aimed another deadly shot, laid another mound below. Now on and on they trailed him, but the trapper, he knew his game. He backtracked all his trailers, this man they thought insane. Now the chances of his escape for the trapper, they were too slim. They hunted him by day, they hunted him by night, this manhunt they must win. One day it was just even twilight, as he was climbing the hill, the trapper, he sighted his trailers, and he aimed a shot to kill. Deep down in the snow for shelter, with bullets flying low, he aimed another deadly shot, laid another mound below. The rest of them heard the shooting and quickly joined the lead, while under a hail of bullets his riddled body dropped dead. Now the greatest of the manhunts is ended in the history of that far north land. We'll give the credit to the Mounties, they always get their man. Come hear my story of heartaches and sighs. I'm a logger that's lonely for moonlight and skies. I have a dear sweetheart who's waiting for me down in old Selmo, in the Selmo Valley. Her lips are like cherries, her little heart sighs. Darling, don't leave me for moonlight and skies. I laughed at her pleading, youth must have its way. I said I'd be back, dear, in a couple of days. My pal's name was Willie, a lad at 2 Howard. We planned a robbery and decided to start. The next thing was fatal, a shot in the dark, and Willie died sending love to his sweetheart. That night I was captured right under. Now I've life to linger behind prison bars. And the pale moon is shining, it's shining tonight, and lovers are strolling by my window tonight. Their laughter so merry brings heartaches and sighs to the girl that I left just for moonlight and skies. So long to the Kickin' Horse Canyon, our shovel and pick days are through. We'll bid farewell to the old cement mixer and our rotten old foreman that we knew. So long to the dusty old boxcar where we froze our tootsies away. Send our mail to the end of the trail. So long to the Kickin' Horse Canyon. Our bed and pack up our clothes and lighten our heart with a song. But where we'll be traveling, nobody knows. We just gotta be drifting along. So long to the Kickin' Horse Canyon, our shovel and pick days are through. We'll bid farewell to that old cement mixer and our rotten old foreman that we knew. So long to the dusty old boxcar where we froze our tootsies away. Send our mail to the end of the trail. So long to the Kickin' Horse Canyon. A brave man the skipper was, I know that he was brave because he went on with the ship into the bottom of the sea. She hit a chunk and then she sunk. The skipper, he was very drunk. He couldn't rise out of his bunk, oh, it was plain to see. Racing up the coast we go, going north to get a tow. A tugboat life, I let you know, it is the life for me. Oh, a brave man the skipper was, I know that he was brave because he went on with the ship to the bottom of the sea. Oh, there was a girl, she was blonde, she was a pearl. She made love to the engineer out on the briny sea. The women, I don't give a damn, they be into when there they can. She made love to a stratty man, oh, it was told of me. Racing up the coast we go, going north to get a tow. A tugboat life, I let you know, it is the life for me. Oh, there was a girl, she was blonde, she was a pearl. She made love to the engineer out on the briny sea. I tell you, the mate, he was a man I liked so much because he saved all his pretty words and poetry for me. He paint the ship and scrub the ship and don't you give me any left to seek the bloody pleasure trip and shipping out with me. Racing up the coast we go, going north to get a tow. Tugboat life, I'll let you know, it is the life for me. Oh, I tell you, the mate, he was a man I liked so much because he saved all his pretty words of poetry for me.